40 years later. Martin Flanagan grew up on a farm with his adopted family in Leland, Mississippi, met the love of his life, Gay Hardy of Alexandria at Louisiana Tech, and they both ended up settling in Baton Rouge when Martin got a job with a printing company. Eventually, Martin would teach as an adjunct professor at both the Manship School and the School of Art and Design at LSU.
Gus had gotten Martin hired as an art director when he was working with the advertising company. They both eventually left and formed their own advertising company, Grapevine Communications, where Martin's wife Gay joined as a partner. During their work together, they won many Addy Awards, including winning national Addy Awards for different bank clients, such as First National Bank and Bank of New Roads. Remember, at this time, you really had to go through a lot to get that golden shot. The commercials they created involved getting a helicopter pilot, and a very ambitious and flexible videographer, Steve Davison. They both valued the details and perfection of award-winning work. Eventually, they parted ways, forming their own advertising agency, but they always continued their friendship.
1977 saw AAF Baton Rouge's first and only Sour Grapes Ad Awards. After so many complaints from the year before, Diane Allen, along with Gus and Martin, decided this was the most appropriate theme for the next Ad Award show. Martin has a story about something that happened before the show in his video.
One of the most memorable was very early on. It may have been about the third Addy Awards I ever went to. And Gus Wells and I were standing in line to get a drink. And I mean, we'd been in line for at least 30 minutes and the bar was packed. And all of a sudden, the white singer who used to work for Herbert Benjamin comes blowing through the crowd. Excuse me, goes up to the bar, gets about 10 drinks, and as he's blowing them up to take them off, he turns around and he goes, "Put that on Lee Hirschberg's tab." Gus and I looked at each other. We got up to the bar, we got about 8 drinks, and said, "Put that on Lee Hirschberg's tab." For at least the next 15 years, every Addy we went to, we put every drink, I'd buy drinks and people, put that on Lee Hirschberg's tab.
You should know Lee Hirschberg was the president of one of the first and largest Baton Rouge advertising agencies, and years later, Gus admitted he and Martin had done this to Lee during an interview, and Lee thought this was so wildly funny, he hired him on the spot.
Both Gus and Martin earned the prestigious E.A. Pete Goldsby Silver Medal Award presented each year to the person who's made the greatest overall contribution to the advertising profession. Martin was and still is the youngest person at the age of 36 to receive this honor from AAF Baton Rouge.
Martin and Gay hosted the first After Addy party after the famous 1977 Sour Grape Show, and the party went on into the morning hours. They continued to host the only after-hours party for AAF Baton Rouge for 7 years until X Design continued the tradition. Martin created X Design with partner David Whirl in 1990. You can see this photo of their promotional campaign. They became wildly known for their outrageous creative. And yes, those are condoms. From covering his entire garage in a barn scene for an advertisement to creating chocolate-covered crickets for Fluker Farms, Martin created genius flew through everything he touched. In 1992, Jamie Crump joined as a partner, and X Design dominated the Addy Awards with accounts like Community Coffee, Klein Peter Dairy, Barks Root Beer. X Design will continue their legacy under our past president, Hunter Torito, after 35 years of creative excellence.
In 1996, Gus took on an incredible labor of love and with a committee painstakingly researched the history of our organization, thinking that we were coming up on our 50th anniversary. He found that we were in fact 53 years old while correcting many other inaccuracies. They created the only major historical document of AAF Baton Rouge, the Anthology. The Anthology is a 80-page book full of photos and 3 video recordings, all with details pulled from newspaper clippings and archives about how the American Advertising Federation of Baton Rouge was born and how we evolved. The writers were Gus, Charlie East, Todd Davison, Jeff English, and Ty Whitley. There were 9 designers on the project, including Martin, and 4 different printers. Gus labeled 1976 to 85 the golden age of advertising in Baton Rouge. It was during this golden age when Gus and Martin, as true ad men of the time, worked together in the ad world as well as in AAF Baton Rouge.
Gus and Martin were both dependable and consistent members and supporters of AAF Baton Rouge. Gus was local president, regional governor of AAF District 7, and served for 4 years on the American Advertising Awards Process Committee with the National AAF. Gus was an active member of AAF Baton Rouge for 50 years. Martin was always supporting AAF Baton Rouge. Over the years, Martin had X Design compete and win hundreds of local, regional, and national American Advertising Awards, and maintained X Design's membership and leadership involvement.
Gus and Martin. These are 2 souls woven into the very fabric of AAF Baton Rouge. Between their inspiring work, dedicated leadership, and continuous mentorship, Baton Rouge and beyond will feel their impact for many years to come. Together, join us as we toast to Gus and Martin. Thank you for teaching us what it means to be human, humble, honest, adventurous, dedicated, happy, and to dream big. Woo! For those of you that don't know me, my name is Hunter Torito. I'm AAF past president, but the title that I'm more honored to have is owner of X Design. Most of us in this room, whether you know it or not, you stand in the shade of the tree that Martin Flanagan planted. There's countless agencies, countless partners, vendors that are on the tree, the branches of Martin's legacy. Martin loved the ad industry. Martin loved the Addies. I'll never forget 18 years ago, the first Addies I ever went to. I was interning, I think, at X Design at the time. And X Design didn't win anything. Taylor, where are you, Taylor? Back there. Taylor and Mesh won everything. And Martin couldn't be happier. Like, it was mind-blowing to me of, Martin, we didn't win anything, and here you are, happy as can be for Taylor. And Mesh was really just, kind of breaking through at that point. He loved the work. Martin was all about the work, but he loved the people even more. Even after Martin retired, he would always call the office and make sure that we had a seat for him at the Addies. It was his favorite event of the year. Anytime that we had an event at the office for students, he always made sure to come up. And last week, after hearing some stories from Jackson and Silas, I feel like I can tell this story too of There was one year we did a student open house for LSU AAF. It was probably 5-6 years ago. One of the students went up to Martin and said, "How are you so creative?" And without even hesitating, Martin looked at him and said, "Well, first I pour a big glass of scotch, and then I smoke a big bowl of pot." And I just had to walk the other direction. It's like, Martin, you can't say that. I know students here probably never had the chance to ever even meet Martin. Probably watching this video of Martin and Gus is maybe even the first time you heard their names. However, at X Design, we want to make sure that the next generation of creatives in Baton Rouge, the students, know Martin. And can stand like us, like the entire X Design team, in that shade of the tree that he planted. So it's with absolute gratitude that in honor of Martin, X Design, beginning next year, is going to cover all the fees for student entries for the Addies. And we're going to do that every year. So students will never again have to pay to submit their work to the Addies, not to the local, not to the regional, and not to the national. And so my challenge to the students in here and the ones that'll enter in the years to come is just to make Martin proud. Thank y'all.
Wow. Presenting the 2025 EAP Goldsby Award. Please welcome past president and former Goldsby Award winner Diane Allen.